Hey everyone, it's Simone and I'm here with Bella. And right now we are in the 40. And so we are so excited that you are tuning in and joining with us. And remember, we love your questions, we love your comments. So please participate. Bella, you want to talk to people about how they can do that?
Yeah, know that we're tuning into the energy of the 40, whether it's the gene key or the gate. So if you have it in your profile, if maybe you know somebody who does, ask questions about it, let us know what your experience is, and be here with us and co-create. That's what we really love.
Mhm. And if you're joining us live, you can put your comments right in. If you get the recording or you catch us after the recording, please know that you can still comment and we will see your comments and questions and we will engage with you. So thank you so much for joining us. And I think we'll go ahead and see what the 40 has to say. So the first image that I get, it's almost like I'm in a cornfield, and the 40 kind of peeks out from behind the stalks of corn, and then I get this image of my screen gets pulled out, and I can see that we're in corn for as far as the eye can see. And there's the feeling at once of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And also the feeling of, I know my way forward. And the minute I said, I know my way forward, it's like the 40 lifted up above the impossible. And as the 40, it's like there's a feeling in the 40's heart that knows that it's possible to, in a sense, overcome or rise above. And when the 40's um, in the heart, um, they rise up and they see their way. And it's so easy. It's like almost imagine like you're flying above the field and choosing to navigate from above, from the higher vision. And there's so much delight as the 40 flies above the cornfields. Now, from this place, the 40 can delight in the corn, in in the land, in the vista, in the vastness of it all. And the 40 has wisdom it's like the wisdom is coming from the heart into the third eye and the connection to the divine, and is guided from that heart space. The 40 is not directing or driving, it's being guided from within about where to fly and how to go. And it's as if when this heart and the third eye and the connection to the divine are all in alignment, the 40 finds the wind lofts and sees the most beautiful plants, and can even see between the corn, like to see the animals, the rabbits, the raccoons, the squirrels, all the little animals that are at the root, at the base of the plant, and can delight in the totality of it all. And the 40 doesn't have to land. It can stay in its flight of this connection of the heart, the third eye, and the divine. And what I feel in my body is that there's no missing out. There's no, um, there's no like I need to be on the ground. I need to fly. I'm flying over the wrong field. I need to be over here. I need to be over there. There is none of that. There is this complete knowing that the 40 is in the exact right place, looking at the exact perfect plants and has the exact speed, and it's all just divine perfection in the moment. And when the 40 does land, 40 lands, so it's almost like watching something gently be placed on um, their feet. And I'm using the pronoun they because the 40 is going back and forth between divine feminine energy and a union of divine masculine and divine feminine. So when I use they, it's this perfection of divine union between the masculine and the feminine. And they land and they walk around, and it's beauty, it's perfection. Everywhere they look is just, and there's so much joy in their hearts of knowing that there's like joy and peace of knowing that they're exactly where they're meant to be in this moment. It doesn't mean that it's not hot. It doesn't mean that maybe the grass is stiff and maybe kind of tingles on the bottom of their feet. It doesn't matter that the rabbit or the squirrel isn't just hopping by right there in that moment, but they have this peace and knowing that what is right there is exactly what they want to be. And then the 40, they lift their chest, their heart up um, to the divine, to whatever word you use. It's divine, God, and there's this just union with life force energy flowing through them. And it reminds me of watching, The Fields Are Alive and The Sound of Music when Julie Andrews is on that mountaintop and she's just swinging, like just soaking it all in. That's what the 40 is doing with the heart lifted up to um, the divine. And the 40 says that they could go on like this forever. Like when there is alignment, they don't want to stop being aligned. They want to continue on this alignment and this path. And um, they are beaming from their heart a vibration of alignment to us. They want us to experience the alignment within ourselves and, then fractally with the universe. And they're really encouraging us to choose alignment over struggle. And they're saying that there's not much space between alignment and struggle. That's the interesting thing. It's that it's the point of view. They say when you first saw us and we were hidden behind the cairn with no way out and no way of perceiving a way out, we could have chosen struggle. But in that moment, we chose our heart and we chose to tap into ourselves, into the knowing, into the belief in ourselves. And when we chose our own heart, that is what lifted us up out of the cairn. And it's so interesting because it's showing me the cairn with the little tassels on the front. So the cairn almost looks like, head high weeds. So, the 40 is saying we could have chosen struggle. We could have chosen, turmoil. We could have chosen disequilibrium. And instead, we chose to go within and find our heart. And that's what lifts you up out of the corn, out of the weeds, out of the disequilibrium, out of the confusion. What do I do? How do I do it? Where do I go? Where do I look? The doubt. Oh, I don't even know where to begin. Going to the heart is You can ask yourself, what's in my heart right now? And it really doesn't matter what's in your heart. It can be just the acknowledgement of what's in my heart is I feel confused. You know, what's in my heart is that I feel great joy looking at the sky. It's the acknowledgement of what's in your heart right in that moment. Your heart might be breaking, and to acknowledge that, whatever it is, and to resolve to stay in what's in your heart, to stay with it, to hold yourself through it. And that's when the liftoff occurs, when you can hold yourself in your heart, no matter where in the range of feeling you are. And there's a softness there to holding yourself through that. And the 40 is saying, Bella, do you have questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask from the beginning about the word resolve, because it is a little bit of, if we look at synonyms, we're going to have a lot of different synonyms. So for this archetype, what does resolve mean?
The resolve is the holding of self. It's the not letting yourself go. It's the kind of energy, the 40 is showing me the energy of somebody being shipwrecked, and they're in a dinghy in the ocean, and they survive. The 40 saying, you have these survival stories. These people have resolved that they are going to live, and that they believe that they are going to live, and they hold themselves through that experience despite what many people would be like, oh, I'd just jump in and because that's going to happen eventually. But no, the part, it's that kind of resolve that chooses the self in dire straits and can stay with the self through the whole range of experience. The 40 is saying, think about that person alone in the ocean, in the boat, and all of the things that they can experience, from how am I going to drink? When is a big wave going to come over and tip me over? What's in the ocean? To, oh my God, the ocean is beautiful. And look at this. I am so grateful for this big blue sky right now. So that's, the vibration of resolve that the 40 is sharing.
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking about is how it was saying that the distance between struggle and resolve, or struggle and alignment, that it's not that big. And I do feel, I feel like I've seen that quite a lot, even the different weeks, when, and especially in relationship, like when you are with the other, and sometimes you feel like there is so much in between, and it's like you can jump and there's an abyss.
Mm-hmm.
But actually that often there is, and it probably has to do with energy. It's just like when we can bridge that energy, and sometimes it's just like energetically tuning into the other person, or even like putting a hand on, like there is something that can happen where even if it feels like so much struggle, it's such a short way to alignment. And when we can start to discern, in, it's not to manipulate our reality, that's not what I'm speaking about, but when we can learn those little cues, like what does it take for me here to bridge the gap between struggle and alignment, or like what does it take to align. But to really, I really loved that kind of picture, because it made it so clear for me. Yeah, this second it was struggle, and then I realigned, and now suddenly it's resolved.
Mm-hmm. And the 40 keeps putting its hand over its heart, and it's like really holding yourself. That's the instantaneous energy of moving from struggle to divine knowing, or divine alignment, is really just going into the heart. The 40 is asking us, how many times are we struggling? Are we choosing struggle and we just go back into our hearts and, like, in a sense, recalibrate. And then we look at the challenge or whatever's perplexing us, and we see solutions that we didn't see before. So when the 40 says this, I'm reminded of something that recently happened in my own life, where when I was in it, I felt so just discouraged, and I stepped out of that, and I didn't go with the discouragement. I kind of just stepped out of it and held myself and got my thoughts down about, like I actually wrote it down. And then I had resolve that it was like the resolve came through me exploring what disheartened me, what discouraged me. And as I was writing that, I also remembered what I loved and what excited me. And when I got to that place, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. Let me relook at it. And I looked at it from this new point of view, and I saw things I never could have seen from the disheartenment, from the discouragement. And, it was just really coming out of that and holding myself through, just journaling about it and exploring what was in my heart. So when the 40 was saying that, I was like, oh, I just had that experience. I know exactly what it's talking about. And then when I came back in, it was like, oh, here are solutions I never saw before that were aligned with the truth of who I am. And then things happened really quickly. I was able to quickly shift that energy. So I love what the 40 is saying.
Yeah, I love what you were saying. And I also want to mention, because you are a 4/6, I'm a 4/6, and really, if we look at the evolution sphere in the gene keys, or which is the personality earth in human design, what Richard says for the challenge of the fourth line, it is to break out of anxiety by admitting that our problems are tiny and coming back to the heart. That is what we say for it. And first, it might seem a little bit strange, but what happens for a lot of fourth line is that when other people look at our lives, it doesn't look like we are struggling at all. It often looks like we have a lot of friends, that we have a lot of like opportunities, and it's often on the inside that we're struggling. So whether it's anxiety or, like you're saying, disillusionment, or and that's the thing for the fourth line, is always to come back to that the inner recalibration. And I feel like it's almost easier for a 4/6 to do that. If you're a 4/1, for example, you have that kind of bit of a fixedness in you, so that can be harder to even allow yourself to go back to see another possibility, or come back to the heart.
When you said that, the 40 showed me that a 4/1, their energy goes all the way down to their feet, and it needs to come back up to the heart.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it just, the energy just sinks out of the heart to the feet, and it's, for the 4/1, it's to shift it back up into the heart. Mm-hmm. But the 40 is saying that's scary for a 4/1 to come back, to be in the feet. And that when the 4/1 when the 40 has the 4/1's energy in their feet, it feels really like their feet aren't going anywhere. It feels like mountain pose, like they're really there. And then to move that energy back up to the heart, actually, the 40 is showing me in my body how that feels a little scary, like, like there's wind up there, like I'm gonna move and my feet are still planted. But the 40 is showing me that when the 4/1 moves the energy, it's like it doesn't take it out of the feet and move it into the heart. It's like it's in the feet and in the heart. And when the 4/1 can have the energy as strong in the heart as it is in the feet and the grounding, then they move so easily. Then the being in the heart is not so scary. It doesn't feel like disequilibrium, and it's so empowered to be both grounded and in the heart. So that's a strength of the 4-1. So it's cool that you brought the 4-1 up, and the 40 actually showed it to me energetically. That was super cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have done a series on this, Simone, where we are speaking about the line of the body. So when we say the profile, the second line is the body, it's the purpose sphere. So whatever line you have there, it's going to be what you're grounded in. So if we have a 4-1, it is grounded in that foundation, in that first line, in that physicality. And then if we have a 4-6, then it would be grounded in the intention, in the spirit. So somehow there might be a closer way between heart and spirit than it is between the heart and what we're saying, the ground or the foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
The 40 is just super excited to journey with us, in a sense, into the unknown/known, because the journey is into the unknown. But when you're in your heart, you know it. Even when you don't know where you're going, when you're in your heart, you know it. You know the energy of it, which is so fascinating. And the 40 really wants to have this experience with us, to go through the journey with us, and to it's almost like each time we feel resolve, that builds the 40 for the collective and lifts everyone else up.
So if we speak about the 40 and the 37 as the feminine, the masculine, for example, and we know this is the channel of community, and it is part of the cross of planning, which has been for the last 400 years, the collective cross, which is 9, 16, 37, and 40. And it feels like the bargaining, quite traditional roles where the man was going out and doing the work and coming home with the food, and then the mother stays home. And there is something in the mutation that is happening in the emotional center with the 37, with the other gates. What's going to come to the next cross, which is the more individualistic cross of the sleeping phoenix. I'm wondering, so if this is the role of the masculine, or if we're not going to go as long as say, to saying it's the role of the man, what is the mutation that's happening? What are some keywords or some behaviors that are important to know for the masculine, the divine, like the embodied divine masculine? I would say the mature masculine might be a better word, and we don't have to take it so far as saying this is all for just men, but this is for the what's the masculine qualities that are taking us in to that new cross of the sleeping phoenix, to that new era that starts in 2027.
Well, it's to hold hands with the divine feminine and to be in a state of union and peace in your divine masculine and divine feminine within yourself. And to the 40 is showing me this shift in the energy of the 40, from resolving for the collective to resolving to be whole. So that, when he shows me, when the 40 shows the energy to me, I'm doing it upside down, but he shows me like putting his hand with the hand of the divine feminine, and then, the fingers crossing, and this union taking place in a way that doesn't self-sacrifice the masculine or the male. The two become stronger and almost a third energy when they are truly in union. And this is the walk forward in that, into the new cross of, is it the sleeping phoenix? He's saying the sleeping phoenix. He's like, I was like, did she say sleeping phoenix or phoenix? Because the 40 is saying sleeping phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So the 40 is saying, imagine within you reconciling with the part of you that has been corrupted. And imagine being in wholeness again. You know, you've hit all control, delete, and reset. And imagine what union within yourself is from the reset. And that's the kind of union the 40 is talking about. And imagine that he keeps pointing to the story that I shared about, you know, like going into myself, into my own heart and reconnecting and then moving from that place. And so it's almost like imagine that you are coming back into the self, joining your divine masculine and divine feminine intentionally, looking within the self of what are the um, aspects of my divine male that are mature? Where's my male, my divine male in me corrupt or capable of growing, you know? And where are my divine masculine and divine feminine in alignment? Does my divine feminine trust my divine male to be in balance and harmony? And to reunite those energies within you and to move forward from that place of union within yourself. And the 40 is showing me that the feedback loop will be in the world around you, experiencing balance between masculine and feminine energies in your external world. So what, you know, is that being reflected back to you? That's a litmus test, if you will.
Mm. And is there anything when we speak about the communities of the future, or the communities that are created already? I remember last week I had somebody telling me it's like he wants to have a family, but he can't think of like doing it the way that many do. He wants to live in a community with like-minded, and he wants his children to grow up with other grown-ups, with other parents that are role models, and also be kind of educated in that. And there are popping up conscious communities, but is there anything to say about like how this is happening, or how we can create it, or how does the 40 relate to those conscious communities, and maybe how big, how small, like some guidelines?
Well, it takes resolve. That's, you know, the 40 says that's my gift to the shift in consciousness, the resolve to do the work inside yourself, so that when you are in these communities, you understand what your work is, and you attend to it. So it's almost like he's showing me you tend to your own corn and you let other people grow their own crops. And it takes resolve, because in those kinds of communities, you have to be resolved in the self in order to create the synarchy. Everyone has to be in themselves, you know, or committed, resolved to the journey of being in the self. And there's the way the 40 shows it to me is in these kinds of communities, the keys or the gates work in harmonics, as opposed to a person just, you know, diving into their own chart, working on the 40 or the 51 or the 37 or whatever. That there's a harmonic in these communities. And so it's like tending to your own harmonic so that you can harmonize with the group harmonic. And it takes as much commitment or more to yourself to be in this, to choose this kind of setting. It does take the, the more, another way he's saying, the 40 is saying it is, the more you have your divine masculine and your divine feminine have communed inside of you, the more synarchy and the more resolve you will have in the communal experience.
Yeah, and here I just want everybody to remember that we have the 37 and the 40 opposite side of the wheels of the rave mandala or astrology. And it's also the 40 and the 37 that form that channel of community between the will center and the emotional center. So this is something special that it's speaking to us to always combine the inner, like in the inner, the feminine, the masculine. They go together wherever we look in the geometry. They are always mirroring each other, and they are mirror opposite, and they are also a pair. So that's something to remember. And I just want to bring up Sue's question. She was asking that in the beginning. And if any of you who are watching have any questions about Gene Key 40 or Gate 40 or anything that we brought up today, please comment and we'll bring it up. And just let me see if I can. Here we go. Oops.
Sue is asking, can we get into alignment without being in meditation? The 40 says, of course you can. The 40 is saying that's your, he's showing it to me in terms of waveform. So he shows me a body sitting in lotus meditating, and he shows me the waveform of a meditator. So it's a consistent wave. So it's up and down and up and down, and the ups and the rises and the falls of the waves are consistent. Whatever, that's the meditative state for wherever you are. So the 40 is showing that when you are in that waveform as you experience life, that's the balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And he says something like, he's saying, I think you're asking me, how is that possible? He does show breath. He shows me a physical body breathing and always remembering your breath. And he says, in those moments where you're jarred, you forget to breathe. And when you forget to breathe, in a sense, that's when you're outside of yourself. And when you come back to your breath, it's almost like the moment you come back to your breath, you're distracted from the not self back into the self. So he says, when you get bumped out of your breath and you come back and to your breath and into your body, take a moment to be in your body. That's going to shift you, and then come back to your heart. If someone upsets you, and that's the thing that helped, put you in the not self or the out of self, come back to your breath, get back into your body, find your heart, and ask yourself, is this what I want? And when the 40 asks, is this what I want? Is that not self what you want? Or is it the self what you want? And then you can choose. Yeah. You can choose the self, and you can choose the heart. And you can choose something different than being in the not self or the outside of self. So the 40 is saying, I think that's what you were wanting me to get at, Sue.
So this is Mary, and it's about the 37. And it's interesting because in my 7 year of deconditioning, the day that I started to count, I'm in the 37 right now, and we are in the 40. So I feel like I've been playing with those energies and understanding that again, I feel like everywhere where we look in the rave mandala or in the body graph, the 37 and the 40 are together. They always come together. So for me, it has been a lot of what Simone was speaking about, of like holding on to yourself. That's the 40. And then the 37 then comes in with the tenderness. And it's a little bit like the same thing that I have inside in my SQ and my stability in the middle of my chart. I have sweetness and fearlessness. And it's not until they come together that I have true stability and resolve in my life. So there is something when you have the 37.5 in your North Node, it's for me, geometrically, it looks like a marriage of the 40 and the 37. It's not actually moving from the 40 to the 37, but it's inviting in the higher frequency of the 40 to marry that 37 in her life, line 5, in her power.
Yeah, and what the 40s commentary on what you're saying is, it is a misnomer to think that the sweetness is always in the divine feminine. That where's the sweetness in the divine male? Where's the fearlessness in the divine feminine? That whatever quality you're focused on, find it in both. Find it in, the divine feminine in you, find it in the divine masculine in you, because it's in both. It's just a matter of whether you have experienced that. And as you do, as you find it in your divine masculine and your divine feminine, you'll feel more and more of the union that I love. It's such a delicate, I'm trying to get it in the background where you can see it. Let me go that way. It's such a delicate thing when the 40 puts the hands together of the 37 and the 40 and the divine masculine and the divine feminine. It's not a taking over like this. There's no power. It's just this, it's like a whisper. And it's so delicate and pure, this union. There's no overpowering. It's just really stunning to watch.
And also just a comment of where you have it in your chart. So this is your design North Node. So this is it. We are speaking about an inner relationship that is connected to your soul. So this is like what's fueling you from the inside, we could say. And it's something that you feel more than like you feel and embody it, but it's an inner process, I would say. It's your inner environment that we're speaking about in the design notes. Mm. Yeah, and I mean, since we're speaking about it, I would say to you, Mary Elizabeth, to look at your SQ and look at your design Saturn and weave them with because if you have inner union or divine union in your design North Node and South Node, I'm wondering, what does your inner marriage says? What do you have in your SQ? What do you have in your design Saturn? How do they add to this?
Yeah, the 40 was showing it to me by going to the heart. And then, it's like being in the heart and moving, if the North Node is where you're opening up to in your life, it's like open to where you're going from your heart. So he was bringing it from the heart and then that forward movement.
And knowing that the SQ is the heart too, it makes even more sense that you would go there and see what the message is.
I'm seeing it in pictures and you're decoding it. I love Luis's comment about merging and integrity. And yeah, when my eyes fell right on that comment. I don't always look at the comments when I'm in the state, but my eyes were brought there. And when I read Luis's comment about merging and integrity, it also feels like honor. So integrity and an honoring. Yeah. So thanks for that comment, Luis.
And there is something here for you, Mary Elizabeth, with the fifth line. We do speak in the SQ. This is role models with integrity. And for you, with the 20th, is your presence. So when we had Simone speaking about the hands and not the grabbing, like with that 20, with that quality of presence, that sacred marriage can happen. And it's not a grasping, it's not a bargaining, it's not if I do this, you do this, like kind of a bartering or bargaining between the divine and feminine and masculine. It's a meeting in presence. And when you do that, your nodes are telling you, and your SQ is telling you, that you're actually becoming a role model in integrity. So it's super powerful for you to have that fifth line in all the three positions.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, when you were saying, when you were describing that, the 40 was showing there's no pushing, there's no pulling, there's no grasping. It's that integrity and honor of the coming together and the presence. And if you hold your hands up together and you bring them forward, you might be able to experience that through subtle energy where you're aware, I can feel that coming together. And yeah, the infinite touch. Beautiful. You're on a roll today, Louise. Thank you so much.
I kind of like when he's speaking in words and not only in numbers. It actually speaks to me.
So beautiful. Oh.
Thank you, Louise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always gets more fun at the end when people, when we can take your chart, your life, when we can thread with you. For me, it makes a lot of sense. It makes me feel more alive, and also the archetype is coming more alive. And maybe some closing words would be that when we were naming this archetype for the 64 doors, it was really coming through as homecoming and very, very connected to the first sacred seal, which is coded by this 40th gene key, because it really is when you stop struggling and battling with life, and you realize that the universe, God, the divine, like, your back is held, like something holds your back that is bigger than your own willpower. It doesn't mean you can't have determination, but there is something bigger. And in the first seal, we have to go into that bone marrow, like to the very, very last part of us, where it might feel very cold, if we haven't gone there, but then really very connected to the first line of the core wound as well, to really be able to look so deeply, even at the things that have been hard, and then still just allow the homecoming, allow the surrender.
That sacred union is the homecoming, I feel. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, let me just touch base with the 40 one more time and ask if there's anything. And he says, no, we've covered it. So this was such a fun communication. It is so delightful to have you all as co-creators with your amazing questions and insights. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. It was just so delightful. So, Bella and Simone, we're signing out. Bella, any last words?
We'll be back with, what is it? Is it the 64? Wow, yeah, it's the 64 next week. So stay tuned. I think it's going to be Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So check for the event.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.